Hey guys, I just wanted to pop in and talk a little bit about this whole Trump incident, the attempted assassination of Trump. It's really interesting this year. I've been guided to look at the presidential candidates and the charts of the elections and the debates, and it's been kind of bizarre to me because I'm not really super personally invested in politics, but Spirit has been like, look here, like drawing my attention to it so much. And I think it's pretty obvious that there's reasons for that. There's a lot happening, and what I feel is that there's so much to learn from, and that we need more voices that are uniting people. Something that my attention was really drawn to around this whole event, no matter like how you feel about any of the candidates, is the media. And I was thinking about Neptune stationing retrograde at 29 degrees Pisces. 29 degrees is such a karmic degree, and Saturn is also stationing retrograde in Pisces. So these planets are really inviting us to look at where have we been given these illusions. And my husband is actually a politician. He's been a state rep for our state for the past 2 years. He's ending his term now. He's not going to keep doing it because I won't get into all of the reasons, but he got his experience. I got a lot of insight about how things work at a state level. He's not so much connected to DC or anything, but it's just wild how divisive the whole political scene is. And I know a lot of us know this, but what he pointed out to me, because he's the one who's really paying attention to a lot of things going on, is ever since July 1st, when there was the Supreme Court ruling that Trump was going to be immune from any of these charges that were posed against him, the media started spinning it into some really weird stories, one of which I posted in my stories from the Huffington Post, where they said that these Supreme Court rulings now give Biden the right to assassinate Trump. And I'm thinking, why would they say that? These rulings had nothing to do with murder or shootings, and it's just so obvious to me that the point is to incite more division. And we find that a lot of times protests and rallies and things really usually happen this time of year in the summertime when it's hot and people are irritable, and it's just easier to incite anger and violence. Not to mention that, I don't want to forget to mention that also we have a lot of astrological things going on that contribute to this energy, so Uranus coming up on Algol, known as the demon star or the eye of Medusa, and Mars following up in conjuncting Uranus as well. So a lot of people are posting Trump's chart, and you can see how Mars squares his natal Mars and conjuncts his MCs. Uranus, Mars conjunction conjuncts his MC, which also has Algol in it. So he has Medusa's eye on the center stage. And I want to talk a little bit about this archetype as well. Medusa can represent our inner monster, but she also represents the divine feminine in a way, and the ability to see beneath the surface. And in the myth of Perseus and Medusa, Perseus beheads Medusa to save Andromeda, which is in a way showing how we can overcome our lower nature, although I'm not a fan of interpreting the serpents and the snakes as something bad, but we'll just kind of talk about it this way for a minute. It can represent overcoming our lower nature and our ego to see things from a higher perspective. And no matter how you feel about the candidates, there is no doubt that these people are meant to be center stage for us right now to learn from. So with Trump, I think that he's obviously a very triggering character. He has Uranus conjunct his sun. People either love him or they hate him. That's very divisive in itself. But this whole scenario is happening to teach us something, you know? And for me, what I see, and I hope that a lot of other people are beginning to see, is just how crazy things have gotten and how divided people are and how obvious it is that people are really trying to keep this guy from winning an election or even perhaps being able to participate in it. And what will be interesting to watch unfold as well is Biden's role in it, because this Uranus-Mars-Algol conjunction is opposite his sun and Venus. So what I feel for him is that in all of these candidates, it's giving us an opportunity to look in the mirror. So for example, I saw an astrologer who's a very well-known astrologer. I'm not going to name names, but they posted about this, and I was reading the comments, and I couldn't believe how many people were celebrating this moment. And to me, I just want to say, I don't care how you feel about the person, but look in the mirror. Like, if you wish for somebody to die because of their political views, there's something deeply wrong there. Like, I'm sorry, but that's how I see it, you know? And so I think all of this is giving people, it's not that not everybody will look in the mirror, but there's the opportunity to, and to just see how people are reacting and see what people are saying, and also hopefully to see how the media just fuels so much more division. And the reason that anyone would want a population to be divided is to conquer it. The other, on the lighter side of this, you know, I'm thinking back to, I don't know if it's a year or 2 years ago, I was getting these messages from the salamander. And the salamander, you know, if it loses a limb, it regrows this limb. It's kind of magical. And when I was looking into the science behind this, it actually had to do with an electrical charge, and it had to do with these positive and negative charges becoming so strongly polarized that it causes the salamander's body to actually grow a new limb. So what I see with this huge like divide and like what's the word for it? The contrast in the polarization, the extreme polarization, is that there is the potential for something new to come out of it, to be grown from it. And we've been going through the US's Pluto return. Pluto is all about death, rebirth, and transformation. And these characters on the center stage are part of that process. So I guess what I'm really coming on to reiterate is just, I think it's so important to stay curious and to stay objective and to not project so much onto each other. And I hope I don't sound like biased in any way, because I've expressed before, I really like RFK, and in my opinion, he's the only candidate out there trying to unite people and sort of trying to take a middle way. And I think that's what we need. I think that's the medicine we need. So when you look at the larger population, it's kind of hard to tell what people think, because the only way, like, I personally have to gather information about what people think, you know, living like in a rural area where I don't know a lot of people, is through the media or through social media, which is really, really, really deceiving, because we have algorithms that put what we believe in our social media feeds. And then we have the media just obviously perpetuating a lot of division, and it's just hard to know what is real. So I think in this moment, it's so important for each of us to just like ground and like come back to our own lives and just be kind to each other as much as possible, you know, like no matter what you believe, and to stay curious. Okay, well, why do you have that opinion? Like, where did you get that information? You know, just like, I think it's hopefully opening up space for better conversations. I've mentioned this before, that I'm working on the charts of the candidates and the next debate and the election, and I'm also looking at the U.S. birth chart. And as I was looking at the U.S. birth chart, the spirit of Sir Francis Bacon began to come through. And I discovered that he was really the spirit behind the beginning of America. And it's really interesting. I cannot figure out what his intentions were. I don't think it's possible to really know. What I do know is that he was one of the people who started Freemasonry and possibly the Rosicrucian movement. I also think there is a lot of good reason to believe he was also Shakespeare. And I wasn't like really fixed on that opinion, but I started having a lot of Shakespeare synchronicities as I was looking into Bacon and trying to learn more about him. And this quote came through. I was listening to a podcast about a man's near-death experience, and here comes a Shakespeare quote from it, you know? And he said, "There is no good or bad, but thinking makes it so." And that's from Hamlet. And I think it's so appropriate right now for where we're at, you know? Jupiter's in Gemini. Jupiter is the teacher. Jupiter's asking us to be curious, to stay curious. And Gemini is also duality. So I think that we're being asked to just stay in that curious, sort of detached space, not label anything good or bad necessarily, and just explore and come to our own conclusions, and not let, you know, the opinions of all the noise like affect what our opinion is. You know, it's like we need to lean back into that intuition and objectivity and staying curious about different opinions and different beliefs. And the other thing, I know this is getting long, but one more thing I'll mention is that a lot of this political stuff started for me with the Sagittarius full moon. And I thought that was interesting. And what I realized is that the U.S.'s ascendant is Sagittarius. So the U.S. chart is ruled by Jupiter. So when I go into these charts, I'll be looking at the role Jupiter is playing. And so Jupiter, when your chart is ruled by a planet, it has a very, it has a really strong effect as it moves through the chart. So right now, Jupiter's in Gemini, and the U.S. is like this expansive country. Like obviously it was like territory expanded upon by England initially. As far as the U.S. history goes, there's been people here for thousands of years. But when we're talking about the U.S., Jupiter is really important, and I can't remember the specifics of the charts right now, but I do know that it's massively activating Donald Trump's chart, which tells me that he's here to be a teacher. Whether that's teachers are not always perfect. So I think we learn through experience, right? And observation. And so there's no doubt he's playing out his role. So Anyway, I just hope that everybody's doing okay, and like, I hope that some good things can come from this. Sadly, my initial reaction was just like, wow, this is meant to cause more division, but you never know. You never know what's going to come out of things. And when Uranus is involved, we don't always see the whole picture right away. It may unfold throughout the next several months. So another reason just to stay curious and not fixate too much on all of the negative aspects of the situation. I'm really grateful that he wasn't killed. That it was pretty wild. I mean, 1 second, I haven't watched the footage a lot, but, you know, I was hearing that, like, 1 second, and I did see this, 1 second his head was turned like this, and the next it was like this, and then the bullet grazed his ear. So it was that close of a call. And one other thing I want to say is, I think this is like, I really hope this is a good opportunity for RFK to get some Secret Service, because the Biden administration has been denying him that. And I think this scenario shows that it's really important in this election. This is like one of the most heated elections we've experienced in our lifetimes. I feel like, I mean, maybe I'm too young to really be able to say that, but I think a lot of you would probably back me up in that. So I think that he deserves that. And if they're actually truly grateful to the Secret Service, they would give that to the other candidate. So anyway, hope you guys are hanging in there all right, not getting too distracted. It feels really weird for me to be focusing so much on this, but I do feel guided to, so I am doing that. And also trying to just stay focused on the farm and taking care of myself and the baby. And yeah, love you guys, and just sending big hugs, and also prayers to the family who lost their family member in this incident. So, yep, lots of love, guys.